If you've ever been to a Filipino holiday party, then you've had machalo, a rich, slow-braised beef stew in an umami broth with veggies and big comforting flavor until it melts in your mouth tender. Well, I've got a few chef techniques to make it even more delicious. First step, pick the right cut of beef. Sound good? Let's cook. The classic cut to use for this is chuck, and I've got a 2.5 pound cut of it, and I'm pairing it up with 3 pounds of short ribs because why not? Those two married up in this are going to be ridiculous. Loads of inter and intramuscular fat. That's flavor right there. Other cuts of beef that will work in this machado are brisket or beef shanks. Just remember to use what you've got. Now I want to marinate this up, but first the short rib, bone in and all, are going into a large bowl. And then for the chuck roast, I'm just cutting this down into roughly 2-inch cubes. There's no need to be perfect here. And of course, I'm channeling my Filipino buddy Sam, who's always told me to leave all that fat on there. That's goodness right there. Add this to the bowl with the short ribs, then I'm going to smash 8 garlic cloves to help release all its flavor and get it incorporated into the beef. Next up, I'm adding in 2/3 cup of soy sauce, and after several Filipino recipe videos, I'm convinced Silver Swan is where it's at, but Datu Puti is fantastic, and you can get both of these at an Asian or Filipino market, but of course, regular soy sauce will work as well. Next, I'm adding in a 1/4 cup of calamansi extract. This stuff is just gold. Seriously, I would drink it. It's got all the calamansi flavor, but it's sweetened up. And for sure, regular calamansi juice is good to use, and I picked up these from Amazon. If you've got neither, fresh lemon juice is a perfect substitute. At this stage, sprinkle in 1 teaspoon of ground pepper, and then get in there and get your massage on and really work all those ingredients into the beef. That's that little bit extra love you can put into your food so that you make meals worth remembering. This looks great. You can see the soy sauce is really starting to penetrate the meat. Let's cover it up with plastic. Then we're heading over to the fridge to marinate for as little as 4 hours and up to 24 hours. Now, the closer you can get to that 24-hour period, the more flavorful this will be. Okay, so however long you decide to marinate it for, when you're ready to start cooking, let's just pull it out and let it sit at room temperature just to help take the chill off. It's crazy how good this smells, and I haven't cooked a dang thing yet. This is going to be ridiculous. Let's set it to the side and knock out some quick prep. I've got 3 medium to large size Yukon Gold potatoes that are getting peeled, and then I'm cutting them into thick 1/4 slices. These are a lower starch potato and great for this stew, but of course russets will absolutely work. I'm going to submerge them in water until I need them so they don't discolor. Next, I'm peeling and thickly slicing 3 large carrots, followed up with seeding a red and yellow bell pepper that I'm going to cut into 1-inch squares. Sorry, not going with green peppers this time. They're dumb and lack flavor. I said what I said. Then small dice up 1 large yellow onion, and yes, a red, white, or sweet will work, followed up with finely mincing 4 garlic cloves. Okay, almost done with the prep, but first I've got 4 ounces of pork belly. Now machado translates to wicked or larded, so in traditional recipes you would see some pork, and you know I'm all about that. I'm just going to slice this down to thick bacon size and then julienne everything. It's now time to cook. Now for me, when I make this recipe, I want to build as much flavor as possible. And to do that, we've got to do it in stages. We can't just throw everything in a pot and let it stew. We're going to build in flavor the right way, and we're not overcooking anything while we do it. Here's how we get to both of those things. Let's grab the pork belly and bring it back over to the cooktop, and I'm going to be making this in a large rondeau pot. Turn the heat up to low, medium-ish, and heat it up for about a minute before adding in the pork. All we're looking to do here is render as much fat as possible and of course crisp it up nice and brown. Seriously, little techniques like this just make better food. Okay, once they're browned up, strain as much rendered fat off as possible and set the lardons to the side. Now we've got a pot full of delicious cooking fat, so let's go. Crank the heat up to high, and once it begins to lightly smoke, add in the carrots and then the drained and dried potatoes, and I'm going to spread them out as much as possible to cover as much surface area as possible to try to get a little sear on these. So I'm sauteing them for maybe 6 to 7 minutes. 6, 7. Sorry, I've got a 12-year-old who's filling my house with brain rot. Okay, be sure to adjust the heat. Something is sticking, turn the heat up more. Things are getting too dark, turn the heat down. Remember, you are in control. The goal is to get them lightly browned up and cooked about 75% of the way, and I'll show you why at the end. You don't want to miss it. But for now, once you are looking like this and brown on the edges, I'm going to season them with salt and set them aside using a hand strainer because, well, this pot is way too dang hot and heavy to pick it up. Place the veggies on a platter, plate, or you know me, I can't help myself, so everything is going on a sheet tray lined with parchment paper. Now back over to the pot, still plenty of fat. My heat's at medium-high. Now let's add the peppers and saute for a max of 3 minutes. And this stage is important because while peppers are delicious and even more delicious when roasted, they can cause bitterness if they're cooked for too long. So just as soon as they're lightly browned, give them a season of salt and then remove them and place them on the same tray with the potatoes and carrots. That little sear right there, it's a beaut, Clark. For the next stage of flavor building, still some fat in the pan, and let's work on getting all that fond off the pot. But first, over medium heat, add in 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter. This is a little trick I learned from a Filipino grandma. Just makes it that much tastier. Then add in the onion, give it a gentle season of salt to help release some moisture and brown more quickly. This is crucial because as that moisture releases, this will give you the opportunity to sort of deglaze the pan and scrape every last little bit of that goodness off the bottom of the pot. There's so much flavor there. Saute for a total of 5 minutes while scraping up as much as you can. Then to sweeten these up to a whole nother level, add in 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, which is seriously just going to caramelize these beyond belief. Let's turn the heat to low and cook for 8 to 10 minutes while occasionally stirring. The smells in this kitchen are glorious, no other word for it, and they look phenomenal. At this point, let's stir in the garlic, and once you smell it, which only takes 30 to 45 seconds, it's done. I'm going to transfer all this to a separate plate and I'll show you what we do with it in just a minute. But first, the pot goes back on the burner. Let's add in enough cooking oil to coat the bottom of the pan and crank the heat up to high. Once it begins to lightly smoke like this, let's sear some meat, my friends. Now you'll probably have to do this in batches so that we get a good sear on this. If you overcrowd the pan, you're going to steam the meat and miss out on the opportunity to create a nice Maillard crust. Let's cook it for roughly 2 to 3 minutes per side or until it looks like this. Yep. Delicious. Once the meat is browned up on all sides, set it right on top of the onions and then simply do the next batch. And once that's browned, set it to the side as well. And now for one of my favorite chef techniques, add in 3 tablespoons of tomato paste. This is going to deepen the umami flavors big time. And what we're going to do over low to medium heat is pince the paste. We just want to cook for 3 to 4 minutes and get it to a rust-like color. But while we're waiting, let me introduce my Filipino friends to an Italian secret. San Marzano tomatoes. They're sweeter and slightly less acidic than regular tomatoes, and they're going to be perfect in this mechado. Seriously, perfect. But of course, you could just use puree. Bring them back to the pot and let's have a look, and yep, that's what we're looking for. Now squeeze the tomatoes from this 56-ounce can to break them up, and all the juice goes in there right to the pot. Let's stir everything together and you'll immediately notice it will become thick. That's what we want. And at this stage, I'm thinking let's go a step further. There's maybe 3 to 4 tablespoons of the marinade left. Let's just strain off the garlic into the... Gotcha. I know Filipinos love garlic maybe even more than Italians. Let's pour it all in there. Then for a little more love, just a teaspoon or 2 of fish sauce. And why do I have to smell this every time I use it?
Oh, dude, it's so great.
I'm a fool. I know. Now, instead of traditional water, let's add in 4 cups of beef stock. It's just going to make this so much richer in flavor. Then 1 tablespoon of vinegar, which is going to bring on a bit more acid and be ridiculous. Now 2 bay leaves and a good season of salt and pepper. Be sure to taste this. This is our braising liquid and it should be flavorful. But of course, if you want, go one step further. And because I always get asked, what about some MSG? So feel free to add a pinch or 2 if you want. And at this point, I'm adding the meat back to the pot along with our crispy pork belly lardons. And then of course, let's not forget about those onions. Hopefully you didn't eat them all because they're seriously dang tasty. Get everything incorporated up, then a lid goes on top and we're cooking it for 2.5 to 3 hours or just until it is cooked and tender. And the hardest part is the waiting game because the smells in your house are going to have you drooling. Seriously. Also, don't forget to pop the seared veg in the fridge until we near the end. Now, if you're wondering what the difference between this and caldereta is, well, think of mechado as more like the Filipino version of braised meat, like a traditional pot roast, if you will. Caldereta classically uses goat and have other ingredients like relish, olives, cheese, and especially liver spread. Subtle differences, but really different flavors. And hey, while you're waiting on the beef to cook, don't forget about how to serve this, and that's of course with rice. You can use my method or just put it in a rice cooker and forget about it. I like to do this with about 30 minutes left before the beef is done. Good time saver. After about 2.5 hours, let's come back and check in on the beef. Gosh, does it smell and look really good? And you'll know you're good when you just take one piece of beef out and it can easily be smashed with a fork and fall apart just like this. Perfection. Oh. I don't even know what to say. It's ridiculous. Gosh. Okay, so now is when we want to add back in all the veg. The seared potatoes, carrots, red bell peppers, and yellow bell peppers. Let's mix everything together and give it a taste. And all right, I'm going to put my chef hat on here and maybe stir up a few Filipino flavor purists, but this needs just a touch of brightness for balance. A squeeze of lemon juice, about 1.5 tablespoons, will do the trick. Then we'll taste again and adjust with a little salt and pepper. Okay, it's almost go time, but first let's plate this up. Pour a good amount of this machalo right to a bowl, and a little short rib there. And for a less classic garnish, how about a hint of green with some sliced green onions? Just ridiculous. A lot of folks ask how they can support the channel, so I recently launched channel membership. All you have to do is click the join button next to the subscribe and follow all the prompts. There you'll get more insider info, history, tips, side dishes, early access to videos, and a whole lot more. And no matter if you subscribe or not, just a huge thank you for making this channel what it is. I can't do it without you. Oh my gosh. Oh my dude. I can't wait for you to try this. That's oh. I might like this more than hot roast.